Hi stars, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And on this channel I talk about tech and lifestyle. If these are things you are interested in, kindly click on the subscribe button below. Yeah, I know it's been a while. Today's video is going to be quite different from the normal, and in today's video it's going to be a technical interview round, problem solving question. So what was that? No. So this round, this interview is going to be a coding interview round, where I have a problem to solve. I came across this question in one of the coding interview rounds I've done, for one of the tech company for a front-end software engineer role, and I'll be solving the question with React and TypeScript. The aim of this video is to prepare your mind for those that are looking forward to technical interview round questions, to know what to expect from companies that don't give algorithmic questions mostly. This is mostly a front-end based interview, not really data structures and algorithm. Though yes, we make use of some simple algorithmic method to approach the problem solving. But yeah, it's mainly a front-end software interview coding challenge, and let's get right into it. So in this interview, we have a scenario whereby at the airport we have a air traffic controller that's in charge of pushing flights into rotation. So there's a list of flights. When a flight leaves the airport, the task of this person is to come into our dashboard, click on the flight that leaves, and push it into rotation. And when it comes back, also push it back into the flight list. So we have the flight list already. We have a list of flights in a JSON file, and we have a flight list entry component pre-created for us so that we can have a nice styling at least, and so we don't need to bother about styling. And like I said, we want to be able to push the flights into rotation when they leave the airport, and when they come back we want to be able to push them back into the flights list. So to do this, we have a load flight function already. So to use this load flight function, I'm just going to make use of a use effect. And it's already imported for us, so we don't need to import it again. So use effect to call our load flights. So when I call load flights, it's a promise, so we can use a .then to get the response. So when I go ahead to say response and I log, if I log the response, so we can just say it. If you look at the console on your right, you see that we have access to the list of flights. Now that we have access to the list of flights, we want to have a storage where we are going to keep them, and we can access them in our app, since we can access it from the console. So yeah, I'm going to create a state. I'm going to call it flights list, and no, I didn't spell that well. Set flights list, and it's going to be a use state of an array. Yes, let me just clean this up nicely. So we are using TypeScript, and I want to specifically type this flight list array. So I'm going to use an interface, call it flight type. Yeah, flight type makes sense. So from the response, we can see that we have let's just copy one of this and paste it here. And so we change this to string. This is a number, this is a number, this is a string, this is a string, this is also a string, and this is a string. Yeah, so I'm going to make use of this flight type. Interesting. So I'm going to make use of it here. Flight type, it's an array. So yes, so instead of having to console.log now, I could just set my flight list to be the response. Yeah, so I'm going to clear this. And now to list out my flights on the browser so I can see what I have. I'm going to come into the flights part, and I'm going to use the map method, the array map method. So you need this interpolation when you want to write JavaScript in React. So flight list dot, you want to map through the flights, and let's identify each of them with the ID. So you want to also return this. So you have flight list entry. So if you see there's an error in our flight list entry. So if you check, there's an error here. Why? Because it's expecting a prop and we are yet to pass the prop. But before we pass the prop, I'm going to pass in the ID. You want to put in the ID, then I'm going to pass a prop of flight so that that component will stop yelling at us. Yes, and we have our list of flights now. So our next line of action is to push each of these flights into the rotation list, and to do that we need somewhere to store it. Same way as we have somewhere where we are storing our flights, we need somewhere to store the rotation. So I'm going to say const rotation list and set rotation list, not an object, sorry, I mistyped, it's an array. So use state. I'm going to use the same type. So we have flight type, it's an array. Then we're taking this array. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna clear this. I don't like seeing those errors, sorry. Okay, so we need to be able to click this. So we need an onClick function, right? onClick, it's going to be a callback function, and I'm going to call it move flight. And now when we want to move the flight, we want to be able to identify which of the flight is being moved. So we need something like an identification from the object of the flight itself. So I'm going to be using one of the unique values, which is the ident. So I'll go ahead to pass in the ident. So flight.ident. Okay, so we need to declare this move flight function at least. So const move flight is equals to callback function. Okay, one oversight is that when I use the dot then, I should also use a dot catch in case of an error. So I'm going to just return error in this case. Yes. Okay, so back to our move flight. Our move flight is accepting a string, so an ID. So I'm going to give it the key of ID, and it's the type of string. Okay, so now that we have passing a props of onClick, we need to go into the flights list entry component, and so that the prop that we are passing is accessible. Because if we don't pass in this onClick, that we have declared here, sorry, if we don't pass it into our child components, that's into the components, when we click on this, no action is going to take place. So we need to be able to access it. So onClick is going to just be props dot onClick. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to come back here, and so when I click on it, I want to be able to identify which of it is being clicked. So I'm going to use the find method. So const find flights equals to flight list, yes, dot find. So find the flight where its value dot ident is equals to the ID we are passing. So when you find that flight for me, I want you to push it into the rotation. So look for the flight first, then push it into the rotation array that we have created here. So to put it, I'm going to use the set rotation list. Okay, I can see that I misspelled this, so I'm going to change that. So set rotation list. Now so as not to just completely mutate the array. So for instance, let's say in this rotation list we already have one object or two objects there, and we want to add this one. So instead of just saying set rotation list find flight, or like set rotation list find flight, if we do this, this is going to, yeah, this is just TypeScript. If we do this, this is going to mutate the whole array and replace what is there with the new one. But that's not what we want to do. We want to just add this new one to it. So to do that, we are going to pass in an array. We are going to spread what is in it already, and we are going to pass in our own new flight. So this is, let's pass in the type. So TypeScript will stop yelling at us. The flight type. So when I save this, so to see the rotation itself, we need to come down here and map through the rotation list. So rotation list dot map. I want to map through flights and the ID, and I want to return. It's a callback function, so I want to return inside this. So our key, we need to bind a key to it so that each of them is identifiable in the DOM. So, and we also pass in the flight equals to flight. Yes, and we save this. So now when we click on this, it goes into this. But if you notice something, that I already clicked on this and it's here, but it is not out of this. And what we want is when it leaves the airport, it's just going to rotation. It's no more in the airport, so you have to take it off the flight list. So to do that, what I'm going to do is to set our flight list, to mutate our flight list array with a new array, a new copy of a new array. So I'm going to use a filter function here. So const new, let's say new flight array is equals to, so I'm going to use filter. So I'm going to check which of the ID is not equals to the one we click on, and return those lists and mutate the existing list. So let's see that. So dot filter. So when you filter each of the value, you check for value dot ident. No, not find flights, it's flight list, sorry. Yeah, flight list. So it's the existing flight list we want to check. So the ident, where it is not equals to our ID. So wherever is not equals to our ID, we want to set flight list to become our new flight list. Now you see in this place, I'm not spreading the existing one because I want to mutate the entire thing. I want to pass in a whole new array into it. So if we save this and we reload this page, so when I pass in 101, it leaves here, it goes into here. When I pass in 102, it leaves here, it goes into here, and on and on and on. So now they're already leaving the airport once this flight leaves and it goes into rotation. Now I want to be able to click on this and return it back into our flight list. Now, how do we do this? It's still the same method, and trying to keep it simple and not complicating things, I can use the same method of this move flight to also perform the same action. So what it will mean is that I will need an extra payload, in this case. So let's see. So I need to pass in an extra payload and see. I can call it let's say type. Yes, and type is a string. So the type of flight, the type, is it a flight, is it a rotation? The type of the plane, is it a flight, is it a rotation? So yes, so and you can see this is already yelling because it needs 2 arguments, but it only got 1. So I'm going to pass in a string of this one is going to be a flight. So this one is going to be a flight and the other one is going to be a rotation. Is that correct? Yes. So we have this as flight, and I need to pass in that function here too. So on click is equals to this. It's a callback. It's also going to take the same thing, move flight. It's going to pass in flight.indent, and this one is going to be rotation. It's a type of rotation. So when we save that, so now we are going to do this if the type that is coming in is a type of flight. That is when we want to do this, right? Yes. So else if our type of flight is equals to, no, that's minus, so is equals to rotation. So when it is equals to rotation, we want to do a different thing entirely. When it's equals to rotation, we also want to push from that array and mutate the other array, and on and on and on. So note that we are not looking into the position. We are not trying to push it back to the position it was. All we want to just see is that it goes back out of this rotation, right? So so to do that, we can also say const find rotation, so is equals to flight. So in this case, it's going to be flight find rotation, flight rotation. We are going to find the value that is being passed, just the same way we did for flight. So I just want to make sure I explain that. So flight oh no, it's called rotation list, sorry. Rotation lists dot find. So we are also finding the value. I love doing that extra bracket. So where the value dot ident is equals to the ID being passed, right? And we also want to have the new rotation array. So const new rotation array is equals to rotation lists dot filter our value, where our value dot ident is not equals to the ID. So that is going to return an entirely new array for us. So what we want to do is we want to set flight list to the new to push in this one and what is existing in it. So we say set flight list, right? It's going to spread our flight list, our existing flight list, and it's going to take in So it's going to take in our new rotation. So yeah, so find rotation as we have to put in the type. So Typescript on yell at us. Then we want to set our rotation list with our new rotation array, if that makes sense. So set rotation list. Yes, rotation list, set it to our new rotation array. If you need to pause the video at any point to understand something, you can do so. I need to make this more visible, so the whole code is visible at once. So yes, so let's reload this page. When you push into this place, you push 2, you push this, and when you push them, they go back into the. So when a flight leaves, I click on them, they are already here, and when they get back to the airport, I click on them and they go back into the flight. So it's more of seeing how you approach this with your array methods. There are other array methods that you can make use of, but I think for the sake of an interview, of a timed interview, you can approach this solution this way, and the interview should be a smooth process, as quick as possible. So I think with this, we've come to the end of the problem solving. Yeah, I can call it a problem solving, and we can see our mini application in action. You can add a lot of more functionalities to this in your free time. You can create a search. You can add the input for a search and filter through, so that instead of having to scroll through, let's say we have like tens of thousands of flights, instead of having to scroll through all of this, you want to search for the flight and click on it and push it into the other side. So you can add more functionalities. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Ciao.